ephedra. Ephedra is a plant-based stimulant that was wildly popular in the 1990s for weight loss and boosting energy. When you swallow an ephedra pill, the active chemicals flood your nervous system. It forces your heart to beat faster and aggressively tightens your blood vessels. People thought it was just melting away fat, but it was actually putting extreme stress on their cardiovascular systems. The visible effects were terrifying. Consumers started suffering from sudden heart attacks, strokes, and seizures. Young, seemingly healthy people were dropping dead. The tipping point arrived in 2003 when Steve Beckler, a 23-year-old pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, collapsed and died during spring training after using an ephedra supplement. His core body temperature spiked to fatal levels. Despite thousands of reports detailing these severe medical emergencies, the FDA took almost 10 years to navigate legal hurdles before finally banning ephedra in 2004. Today, this saga remains an important lesson that just because a supplement is sold over the counter does not mean it is safe. Jack 3D and DMAA. Jack 3D was a wildly popular pre-workout powder that gave gym-goers a massive burst of energy. The secret ingredient was DMAA, an amphetamine-like stimulant. Originally developed back in the 1940s as a simple nasal decongestant, supplement makers eventually realized DMAA could artificially trigger your body's fight-or-flight response. When you drank a scoop of Jack 3D, the DMA, it quickly flooded your system. It constricted your blood vessels and cranked up your central nervous system. This made users feel incredibly focused and relentlessly strong during heavy lifts. But it also caused serious, sometimes deadly side effects. People started showing up in emergency rooms with racing heartbeats, extreme blood pressure spikes, and even fatal heart attacks. Despite these real dangers, the FDA did not just ban the ingredient overnight. Instead, they took a sluggish approach, quietly sending out warning letters in 2012 to ask companies to voluntarily stop using it. This slow-motion crackdown shows how easily dangerous synthetic chemicals can sit right on store shelves for years before regulators finally step in. Oxyolite Pro. This was a massively popular dietary supplement sold over the counter as a fat burner and muscle builder. In 2013, the manufacturer changed the recipe to include a new, untested synthetic ingredient called agiline. People took the pills daily, expecting to shed pounds quickly. Instead, the chemical started attacking their livers. The damage built up silently over a few weeks. Suddenly, young and healthy people were turning yellow from jaundice. Across the country, but heavily concentrated in Hawaii, nearly 100 people developed severe acute hepatitis. Dozens had to be hospitalized. At least 3 patients needed emergency liver transplants to survive, and 1 person died. This outbreak exposed a glaring loophole in how we regulate supplements. The FDA does not test these products for safety before they hit store shelves. They can only step in, issue warnings, and pull products after the damage is already done. It is a harsh reminder that everyday consumers are often acting as the actual test subjects. Tianeptine. This is a drug nicknamed gas station heroin. Scientists in France created it in the 1960s to treat depression, and it is prescribed in several European countries. But the FDA never approved it here. Instead of going through pharmacies, manufacturers sneak it into the United States and market it as a dietary supplement. You can walk into a convenience store or smoke shop and find it in brightly colored bottles under names like Zaza or Tiana. Inside the brain, high doses of this chemical latch onto your opioid receptors. This gives users a brief, euphoric high. Soon, people find themselves taking dozens of pills a day just to feel normal. When they try to stop, they get hit with brutal withdrawals like vomiting, cold sweats, and racing hearts. Between 2014 and 2023, poison control centers saw calls about the drug skyrocket from just 11 to nearly 400. Even though the FDA sends warning letters and over a dozen states have banned it, manufacturers just tweak the labels, meaning this highly addictive chemical is still sitting right next to the breath mints. Kratom. It is a leafy plant native to Southeast Asia that people have used for centuries to fight fatigue and manage pain. Today, you can find it dried and ground up into powders or packed into capsules at thousands of gas stations and smoke shops. The plant contains active compounds that attach to the exact same receptors in the brain as opioid drugs. When someone takes a small amount, they get a quick burst of energy. If they take a much larger dose, the effect completely shifts. The body slows down, physical pain fades away, and a heavy sedative feeling takes over. Because it acts so much like a traditional opioid, it carries real medical risks. People can quickly develop a dependence on it, and it has been linked to a rising number of severe overdoses, especially when mixed with other substances. The FDA has repeatedly warned the public about these dangers and tried to restrict the plant. However, strong pushback from advocacy groups has blocked a sweeping federal ban. This means millions of people still use it to self-medicate, forced to navigate the unpredictable risks entirely on their own. Craze pre-workout. Craze was a massively popular bodybuilding supplement sold around 2012 by a company called Driven Sports. Its main job was to give athletes extreme energy before hitting the gym. The label claimed this power came from a natural dendrobium orchid extract, but the process of making it involved something much darker. The manufacturer secretly slipped a synthetic chemical called N-alpha-diethylphenylethylamine into the powder. This chemical is a direct structural analog of methamphetamine. Because the FDA does not routinely test dietary supplements before they hit the shelves, Craze sailed right into major retail stores and gym bags. The visible effect on users was immediate and intense. People felt completely wired, focused, and unusually euphoric. But soon athletes taking Craze started failing professional drug tests for amphetamines. In 2013, independent researchers from Harvard and NSF International tested the powder. They finally exposed the hidden meth-like compound, forcing the product off the market. Craze still matters today because it shows exactly how easily dangerous, unapproved designer drugs can hide in plain sight on a supplement store shelf. Phenibut. Phenibut is a synthetic anti-anxiety drug masquerading as an over-the-counter dietary supplement. Scientists in the Soviet Union created it back in the 1960s. They actually gave it to cosmonauts to keep them calm in space without making them too sleepy to work. It does this by mimicking a chemical in your brain called GABA, which basically tells your nervous system to quiet down. When people take it, they feel incredibly relaxed, highly social, and clear-headed. But your brain quickly gets used to that extra chemical help. If you take it regularly and suddenly stop, the rebound is brutal. You can face severe withdrawals, including non-stop panic attacks, crippling insomnia, and violent muscle tremors. It easily traps people in a rapid cycle of addiction just to feel normal. Today, it still matters because it exists in a massive legal gray area. The FDA never approved it as a medication in the United States, yet companies still easily sell it online as a daily brain booster, leaving everyday buyers completely unprepared for the risks. Hydroxycut liver damage. Hydroxycut is a massive line of dietary supplements sold to help people lose weight and boost energy. After the government banned ephedra in 2004, the makers of Hydroxycut changed their recipe to keep the brand alive. Millions of people bought the new versions, swallowing the pills daily to shed fat. But the new mixture of plant extracts was hiding a serious problem. Inside the body, the supplement aggressively attacked the liver. By 2009, the FDA had tracked over 20 reports of severe liver damage tied to the brand. Consumers turned yellow from jaundice, experienced intense stomach pain, and suffered massive organ failure. One person died, and several others were so sick they needed emergency liver transplants just to survive. The FDA finally stepped in and announced a recall of 14 different Hydroxycut products in May 2009. This delayed action still matters today because supplement makers constantly tweak their secret formulas to bypass rules. It is a harsh reminder that an over-the-counter label never guarantees a pill is actually safe. Aristolochic acid. It is a natural chemical found in plants like birthwort, historically used in traditional herbal medicine to treat joint pain and help with weight loss. When you swallow these herbs, the acid goes to work binding directly to your DNA and causing permanent mutations. In the early 1990s, doctors noticed clusters of women at weight loss clinics suffering from sudden, severe kidney damage. By 2001, the FDA issued a strict warning and blocked the import of any products containing the compound. Those DNA mutations literally destroy your kidneys from the inside out and frequently trigger aggressive urinary tract cancers. Victims quickly end up on dialysis or need complete organ transplants. But the modern supplement market is massive and tough to police. Researchers found these exact toxic herbs were still easily available to buy online more than a decade after the FDA stepped in. This ongoing failure matters because it proves you cannot just trust a product because it says natural. If authorities cannot keep known toxins off the internet, your safety falls entirely on you. SARMs. These are selective androgen receptor modulators, a class of experimental drugs. Scientists started developing them in the late 1990s to treat severe muscle-wasting conditions like cancer. When someone takes them, the chemicals bind specifically to hormone receptors in muscle and bone tissue. The process forces the body to build muscle, supposedly avoiding the severe side effects of traditional steroids. The visible result is rapid muscle growth and fast weight loss. This is exactly why they blew up online. You see teenagers and athletes snapping them up because shady companies illegally package and sell them as everyday dietary supplements or research chemicals. But the reality is far less safe. Users often experience sudden hair loss, liver toxicity, and an increased risk of heart attacks. Today, the FDA refuses to approve them for human use, and only occasionally sends warning letters to manufacturers. Yet, because enforcement is weak and loopholes exist, these untested drugs still flood the fitness market and easily end up in the hands of kids hoping for a quick, physical transformation.